Good afternoon, one and all. Thank you so much for joining us for the 18th edition of Business Opportunity with Chai webinar series, a platform through which Franchise India tries to provide you information about all the important brands we associated with and we are proud of. We welcome our respected panelist, Chairman Franchise India Group, Gaurav Sir, and our MD, Sonia Ma'am for the webinar. Today we are representing you, Credar, India's largest used two-wheeler brand. They are already present in all metro cities and they have 40 plus stores operational. We invite Rishi and Shashidhar for the webinar series. The flow of the particular webinar would be first, we'll talk about the brand, and before question and answer session, we will play a small video for each one of you. Thank you so much for joining us. Over to you, Rishi and Shashi.
Thanks, Archana. Good morning, everybody. My name is Shashidhar, and I also have my colleague Rishi, and we both represent Credar. Before going into the specifications of what Credar stands for, I want to give a quick background about myself and my other co-founder, Nikhil, who is based out of Mumbai, and I work out of Bangalore. Myself, I worked in consumer startups for more than 10 years. I also was part of a lot of venture capital funds and private equity funds before we started this business, Credar. Nikhil, on the other side, is a serial entrepreneur. Before starting this company, he co-founded and sold two companies, one in tech and other is renewable energy. He is a IIT Mumbai graduate. That's a quick background about ourselves. Can you get the presentation, please? Great. Okay. So to begin with, let me quickly give you a background about the category. India is the largest two-wheeler market. Close to 20 to 22 million new bikes are sold in the market every year. And the most important factor is that the penetration of the bikes in our country is still very low as one or two bikes are sold, or ownership for every 1,000 customers. And this is fundamentally the lowest penetration in any developing country. And that is exactly the kind of headwind that we believe will really create a massive two-wheeler market going forward also. And currently, if you speak about used two-wheeler market, the used two-wheeler market itself sells close to 4 crore vehicles every year in India. And the market opportunity is just more than $20 billion. If you want to compare this with any other e-commerce market, both Flipkart and Amazon as well chase a market opportunity of close to $20 billion. So to that extent, the current market of used two-wheelers is really very big, very massive. And secondly, this market is also growing each year on year. In last 10 years, the market itself has grown more than 20% CAGR. And with more and more societal acceptance for the used products, whether it is cars, furniture and bikes is only taking up, we believe this growth will only grow much faster in the next 5 to 10 years. And one of the biggest reasons why this used two-wheeler market will grow is because of more and more presence of institutional brands like us. So once you create a brand, the trust factor of a consumer to transact in a second-hand bike market will obviously increase. We have seen this kind of stuff happening in cars. We have seen this kind of happening in furniture. So trust me, the more and more you create trust in the minds of the consumers, their ability to transact in this segment will only increase. So with that kind of a background, let me tell you, this is the only one automobile category which is not only relevant in cities, that is top 30, 40 cities, but also equally relevant beyond the tier 2 and tier 3 markets. Because predominantly India has always been a two-wheeler market. There are a couple of reasons why it is so. One of the main reasons is that the public infrastructure supporting the public transport is really not great. And secondly, the public transport itself is very poor and very unpredictable. So according to some studies, only 20 to 30% of the entire city or a town is currently connected by public transport, which fundamentally means close to 60 to 70% of the entire city is still not connected by public transport. That is the kind of market opportunity this segment has. That means once you are able to create a strong a trust factor in the segment, consumers are going to buy this because they have no other means of transport to move from one place to other. And the second biggest growth factor is the massive industrialization. If you see in last 5 to 10 years, a lot of Tech B and Tech cities have started becoming hubs of manufacturing, wherein you see a lot of staff and employees earn that kind of salaries, wherein they typically don't like to go for an expensive new bikes. And we believe this trend is only going to increase. And the current situation that you are seeing in the world, a lot of manufacturing would be moving to India. When these kind of opportunities grow much faster, then the need for mobility is only an outcome of that. And the third factor is, even before the pre-COVID situation, we have seen the prices of new bikes have increased by more than 10 to 20,000 across categories because of shift from the BS4 to BS6 vehicles. So all the three factors, one is the poor public transport, second is massive industrialization, and third, the prices of the new two-wheelers being so high that the customers are increasingly looking at the used or second-hand bikes and automobiles to purchase. And in our own experience, we have seen this segment is going to grow much faster because of two main reasons. One, a lot of customers are increasingly not showing acceptance to use a public transport because of risk of virus transmission. And secondly, the shared mobility companies which have just sprung from nowhere only in metropolitan cities have seen a huge dip in their usage because consumers don't want to use them. So there are two big tailwinds. One is your public transport being reluctant by the consumer, and secondly, there is no second option for a consumer to move from one location to other. I think between these two factors are going to contribute a lot to the growth of this used two-wheeler market in years to come. Now let's talk about our company. We have set the context about how big is the used two-wheeler market. Now let us talk about what we are all about. To begin with, Credar is India's largest and the most trusted used two-wheeler market. And if you observe, we put a lot of emphasis on the word trusted because the entire market is fragmented and highly unorganized. To begin with, there are close to 30,000 odd dealers in top 10-20 cities only in India. Despite that, you see a lot of customers are not happy with the kind of products that they get. Primarily because there are 3-4 factors that the current segment doesn't have. One is pricing, the other is bike quality, and third is there are a lot of value-added services like paper transfer, financing, insurance. So in sum and substance, the customer don't have really great trust factor in going and buying a used two-wheeler, but still he does because he has no second and third option in the market. That's where we believed 5 years back, if we are able to give the same kind of customer experience to a consumer who buys a new bike and exactly replicate in the used bike, then the market will be locked forever. That is the reason our logo is very simple. We are fundamentally a most trusted used two-wheeler brand. There are a lot of companies which are connecting a buyer and a seller. I don't want to take the names, there are a lot of classified companies. But this is one such category. By just connecting a buyer and a seller, the transaction doesn't take place. Because you have no clue whether the bike has been either in a good condition, you have no clue whether the pricing of the bike is good, you have no clue whether the bike has met with some accident, is a theft bike, the papers are original, is it a defaulted bike on loan. So there are multiple reasons why a customer really doesn't trust this classified sites. And I think in last 2 to 3 years, you have come across a lot of cases in the public domain wherein the customers, both on the seller side as well as the buyer side, are being cheated, in some cases being killed while they're transacting on classified sites. I think that's exactly core of our business. We believe that once we are able to build a strong trust factor in the minds of the consumers, the way people used to be scared to buy products online 10 years back, but once Amazon and Flipkart have done a massively good job of creating the trust, today you and me are able to buy mobiles worth more than 50,000 without a blink of an eye. We believe that kind of trust factor has to be created in the market. Then only the consumers would be able to come and transact with us. So that was the hypothesis. We told ourselves, if we are able to create a huge trust in the minds of the consumers in a segment where the trust is completely deficient, you can create a really big brand because the market is very big and the market is growing. But if you are able to build this kind of consumer segment modes, then the entire segment will become much more matured and you will stand to gain out of it. Now, coming back to our own company, we have expanded to 9 cities and we have opened more than 40 showrooms in the top 6 cities. And till date, we have served more than 2 lakh customers. To begin with, we are backed by some of the most highly reputed investors in the world, guys who backed Facebook, LinkedIn, and companies like TikTok. So they know what it takes to build a huge successful brand in their own countries. And we are also backed by serial entrepreneurs like K. Ganesh, who built some of the India's largest consumer startups like Big Basket, Housejoy, Fresh Menu, Portia. So I think the entire business is fundamentally been anchored to the fact that if you are building a huge trust factor in the mind of a consumer, then rest everything can easily fall into place. So just to add to what we are saying, in fact, we are the first company in the country to have launched products which created the trust factor. So some of the products we will speak as we go along to the presentation, but you will be very proud of the fact that we are the only company who have launched all these products. And these kind of products have created a massive acceptance in the consumers, and almost 70 to 80% of the consumers who buy used vehicles from us have cited the reason for buying are these the post-sales products. And that's exactly translates into the power of brand. Today, both on Google and Facebook, we are the highest rated auto company in India. Mark my words, we are rated 4.7. The next competitor in this space, who fundamentally sells bikes more like a classified business, has less than half of our rating. And the reason the kind of rating reflects the kind of consumer trust in our products. And today, if you see, more than 90% of the traffic that comes to our website is completely organic and free, which fundamentally means consumers are searching for our brand and they're coming and landing on our pages. And this really took a long of effort because for the last 5 years, we've been doing stuff which increase the trust of the consumer, because of which a lot of people go to the Google and search for us. And that's the reason 90% of our traffic that we get on our website are purely free and direct. And today, I can proudly tell you that more than 30% of the sales that happens in my showroom are purely based on references. That means someone would have bought a bike and they would have referred their family member, friends, or colleagues to buy a bike from us. Just to put a context to it, the highest reference-based sales happens in any sector is less than 10%. And we are currently ranked more than that, which fundamentally means consumers are discovering us organically. Consumer trust our brand much more, that they are also referencing it to the other consumers. Now, just in adding to what I said in the previous slide, if you see the screenshots of our web search, if you see the second-hand bike in Bangalore, we are ranked top. Even in the Delhi, we are ranked top. This fundamentally tells you that the consumers are searching for our brand, searching for a product, and we are being shown on the top. This is really a very big achievement for us as a company, because it really makes a competition, even though they can spend more and more money, they really can't dislodge us from the top. Now, coming to the unique differentiators, we keep telling that we are the first company to launch this kind of product. Let me give you a clear-cut differentiator between what we offer and what the rest of the market offers. The most important thing that we offer is the quality. If you compare a car versus a bike product, in a car, there are a lot of technologies which can easily tell you whether a car is good, bad, ugly. Whereas in a bike, there is no such technology. In a car, there is something known as OBD meter. The moment you plug into a car OBD meter, it instantly tells you the entire quality of a car. Whereas in a bike, there's absolutely nothing you can do to get the quality of the bike by just looking at it. So what we have fundamentally done is, we have given 100% assurance to the consumer, saying this is the best quality bike. How did we do that? We backed it up by the post-sales products like warranty or a buyback product, where we are so confident about our rating that customers can come back to us within 6 months and say, "Boss, ye kharab hua hai." I think That is the kind of product that we have built, that we are able to offer post-sales products which are first for the country. And secondly, our pricing is a very, very unique differentiator. Today, if you understand the market, everyone gives their own pricing of a product. Whereas in our case, we have collected prices of different bikes from different years across the country. So we have created an internal pricing benchmark where you customers can easily trust us that this is the best price that you can get for your bike. So there is no manual intervention. We have built a technology in the background which fundamentally throws the price to the consumers. So fundamentally, we have addressed three problems: quality of the bike, pricing of the bike, and using a post-sales products like 6 months warranty and 7-day buy product. We fundamentally are giving you a really good experience where a customer can transact with us without any worry. Now compare this with what is currently consumers getting in the open market, like unorganized players. The guy in the second-hand dealer market will never give you a quality assurance. There is no warranty. There is absolutely no pricing. So we have created a product which is almost 100x superior to what a consumer gets in the market. And the reason we are able to do that is because we collect a lot of data about the bikes. The ability to price the bike is very, very important. That's the reason someone in a second-hand dealer can never do what we are trying to do that. It requires a lot of technology, analytics, artificial intelligence to build a pricing engine, which only can happen when you have a lot of data with you. So we started the company way back in 2015, but from 2015 to 2020, we collected so much of data that it takes time for you to build this kind of stuff. Now, these are the glimpses of our showrooms. So one of the first things that we have done when we started the business is we wanted to remove the stigma of walking into a second-hand bike showroom. If you see the typical second-hand bike showrooms in the market, they are very dull. The branding is very bland, and you feel the feeling as if you are walking into a garibi showroom. That's the reason we have made it a point that you should fundamentally, the entire showroom should be decked up. The consumer should feel very, very happy to walk into such a showroom and transact in the very good ambience. I think that is the reason all our showrooms are being standardized using the same branding, the same quality that the consumer feels very much. Now, let's answer the most difficult question in the market. People keep asking us, what is the post-COVID situation for Credar? I'll not only talk about Credar, I'll talk to you in general. To begin with, in Credar, like every good company in the market, we are deployed stringent safety measures to ensure that all the staff in our showrooms are taking the best possible healthcare measure so that the virus transmission doesn't happen. So we have a lot of checks and balances, which makes us very, very strong in maintaining the safety standards. And if you see multiple studies that come across different newspapers and all the stakeholders, customers would be very reluctant to use public transport. So does the shared mobility. And we believe second-hand bikes offer the most cost-effective option to buy a used two-wheeler. And that's exactly what we are trying to propose to the entire market. And in the process, we have also launched two really very innovative products, which I'll be talking to in the next couple of slides, which have just increased the interest of a consumer to transact with us. And we believe, and we have already seen the multifold increase in the demand in the showrooms where we operate. The answer is very simple. People don't like to take a public transport. They can't buy a new bike because of different cost constraints, and they have no third option. So their interest to buy a second-hand bike from a branded company like us, which gives the guarantee of 6 months warranty, 7-day buy product, financing, insurance, and service contracts under one roof, makes it very, very simple, no-brainer decision. Now let me talk about the two new products that we launched recently. First, we know that a lot of consumers don't want to step out of their homes. So we are the first company in the used products sector that will launch something known as contactless door delivery of the bikes. All the customer had to do is go to our website, choose the bike, and pay the minimum amount there, and the bike will be delivered to your home. And all the paperwork would be done on online itself before even they came to your showroom, to their home. Having said that, we are also we are also offering the option of a consumer walking to our showrooms and buying as usual. But having said that, we launched this product a week back in Bangalore. Currently, more than 40% of our consumers are opting for this kind of route. And we believe increasingly more and more consumers would like to get their bikes delivered to the showroom by the time this happens. And we believe this is a path-breaking product because not only the technology is very unique, but also the fact that there are a lot of friction points which a typical customer would face while coming to a showroom, given the fact that there is no public transport and there are no Ola, Uber. This makes a very, very convenient, compelling reason to transact with us. The second is the buyback program. If you see, a lot of consumers keep asking us, is there any other way we can transact with Creda? And one of the reasons why we introduced the buyback program is because there are a lot of consumers, we may not like to keep the bikes forever, but they can't also be paying high prices, because if you see the kind of options that are available for a consumer who is willing to own the bike for a period of 1 year or 2 years, is either a bike leasing or a bike rental or buying the bike on loan. And all these three options are extremely expensive to a consumer. That's the reason we launched a product known as Buyback Plus, wherein we are guaranteeing a buyback price for any consumer buying the bike from us, which can be redeemed after 12 months. And if you see, the opportunity cost of that line is really, really cheap. And there are no hassles, there are no questions asked, and you also get to avail a lot of attractive schemes from our service centers. In toto, the Creda buyback program makes the entire buying value for a consumer really, really cheap. For example, a customer want to buy a bike for 100 rupees, and after a year, he can get back the buy value as much as 60 to 70%, which makes it that he's only spending 30 rupees for the entire year, and he also calls this bike his own. Whereas if you go to the other options like leasel, rental, all those programs, there are a lot of stipulations on how much kilometers can you run, what kind of bike you can maintain. This is fundamentally free of mind. This is your own bike. If you want to sell it back to us, we are more than happy after 12 months. I think these kind of products have been path-breaking and also helped the consumers to look at us more attractively as such. Now I'll let my colleague Rishi, who heads the entire franchisee development for us, to walk you through some of the key features of our franchisee model, which makes us very different from any other option that is available to you in the market. Rishi?
Thank you, Shashi.
Rishi? Rishi, are you there?
I think
the screen is frozen. It seems to be some unstable connection, perhaps.
I think by the time he joins in, Mr. Sridhar, you can continue with giving some insight if you want to. I think he's back now. Rishi, can you hear us?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Varab, I can hear you.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay. So I would just like to take you through how we are different from all the other offerings that are available in the market across different categories. So some of the key points to note that in our business, since we deal with used two-wheelers and we deal with a limited number of units that gives us a higher level of profitability, there is a very minimal amount of wastage, I'd say, there would be in an F&B business or any other food, quick chain, QSR outlet. Another very, very important point to note is that our operational store is very low. The maximum amount of investment that goes into the store goes into the inventory. About 80% जो inventory जो investment जाता है वो पूरा inventory. There isn't a lot of sunk cost or there isn't a lot of interior cost that we do across our stores. Another important point where we are better than a lot of the other opportunities in the market is that we have a very low manpower requirement.
Rishi,
Unlike services where
Rishi, your voice
your
is
manpower
cracking
is
now.
equivalent to your revenue. It's not the case with us. Okay, just give me a minute, Shashi, please. बाबू टीवी बंद करना जरा. टीवी बंद कर. Yeah, Shashi, am I audible now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So, like I was saying, I'll just repeat the last point. Unlike other businesses where services businesses where manpower is equivalent to revenue, for us, the manpower requirement is very, very low, which makes our monthly operational expenditure very low. Now, this is absolutely unique where these kind of salient features are present within a business, where you have very low initial investment in terms of sunk cost or at-risk investment. You have rather low operational expenditures, and you have very little dead stock or wastage coming up. Okay, Neeraj, over to the next slide. So this is how the investment looks like. We have two formats of stores. One is a small store and one is a large store. Typically, a small store will be 1,200 to 1,500 square feet that will have about 60 to 70 bikes, and the investment will be roughly around 30 lakh rupees, 25 to 30 lakh rupees. That includes interiors, inventory, sign-up fees, and all of that. Majority of which will go into inventory. About 70-80% of it will go into inventory. And second model is 100 bikes and upwards, which will be typically about 35 to 40 lakh ke range mein. Again, a large chunk of it will go into inventory, which is a very, very low risk component of the investment. Now, without going into much details about the financials, typically the amount invested is recovered within the first year across 70 to 80% of our franchisees. We claim that we are stating that there will be a ROI of roughly around 50 to 60%. But typically what we have seen is that depending on location, depending on the focus of the business, depending on skills, this ROI has generally been much higher, in the range of 120 to 140% in the first year itself. Okay. So that's it from our end. Archana, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Shashidhar. Thank you, Rishi. Very insightful, and I think it's one of the few opportunities why we selected to be presented to our audience is because we feel that some of the points Mr. Shashidhar has put, that it would positively impact it, because whatever would happen is that people would not trust, so to say, public transport, and they would maybe trust their own vehicles of movement and so on and so forth. While I think I have some few questions before I pass it on to Sonia to take it up, but I'll give you a little bit of my perspective on the business model. So the business model is very interesting, and I think we've done our own study and understanding. So we understand that there's still a huge gap in terms of what I call unorganized, unrecognized sales points, which are selling these old or second-hand two-wheeler in the market, and there is no branded, trusted chain in the country. So, and if you see in almost everything, you need to have this shift. You need to have a third-party branded chain, and because of trust level, the quality levels, the assurance, aftermarket, all would become an issue with these local mechanics who also have two bikes standing outside, which they actually sell. So there is no doubt in that shift itself of a consumer acceptability to go to a place where they have some kind of quality assurance and aftermarket capabilities would be natural, and that would itself take a big opportunity for you to continue to do that. So I have some question which you can answer. One, you really talked about that the demand side would see a growth from a consumer viewpoint. So it means the buyers would be there in the market and they would continue to buy, and also a lot of impact coming from this delivery going big. So a lot of that demand would also come. But do you think also the supply side would also be equally big? I mean, and where is the supply side coming? Because normally a lot of people would sell their old bikes when they upgrade to a new bike. So because there's now with this going on, do you think there will be impact on the supply side? That's one question I have. And second, I would like to see what is the differentiation in the price points, which means that what is the price point? So from a new to your vehicles which you sell, what is the price advantage a consumer get, and how that is shifted in these periods? And what is the difference between even a local roadside reseller selling? So what is the price points in needs to be done? So I have two questions. What is happening on the supply side, where you buy the supply side is coming, how it is changed, affected or not affected, and what is happening on the price points? So these two questions to you.
Great. Thanks, Gaurav. Coming back to the first question, the supply question is pretty pertinent. But having said that, the supply side of this business is very well-oiled machine. And because of our brand pull, we almost on a monthly basis, we get on a free basis around 4,000 to 5,000 leads on our website. We don't do any marketing campaigns. We hardly do any Facebook or Google runs. Despite that, around 4,000 to 5,000 people are willing to sell bikes on our platform. The reason I'm telling you this number is to show you the power of the brand, that people want to churn it. See, the consumer mindset 5 years back, or when my dad was around, give me an example of car, is that my dad would run the car for 10, 15 years till the car broke down into pieces. Now the consumers are being more and more aware of the platforms where they can sell their vehicles and buy a new ones. I think the churning happening is at a very fast rate. So 4 years back, Gaurav, customer used to hold on to the bikes for close to 8 to 9 years. Now we see a lot of consumers who are holding on to the bikes for hardly 3 to 4 years. I think that's a change in consumer behavior, and we believe this is going to continue for next 5 to 10 years, and this is going to only improve it. And this is what we exactly have seen happening in cars, and this is getting replicated in the bike segment. Being the biggest brand in the market, we get a unfair advantage over anyone else in the market to pull those kind of customer on our platform. Does it answer your first question, Gaurav?
Absolutely, it answers very good. Yeah, and give me even in a number side, because your website is very active and you are sourcing. So from your sourcing capabilities to conversion is still a big gap. I'm sure there would be, because you would have more demand of people selling, and then what you would convert and sell further, or it is proportionate now.
On a business side, Gaurav, there is always be a lag between demand and supply, and that is understandable, being a company of this size. But having said that, the demand side is the least concern for us, because we have built a brand on the demand. The supply is what we are fundamentally building very well. Over the last 4 or 5 years, we have 4 or 5 different supply channels. One is OEM driven, the other is affiliate dealer driven, the direct consumer. So there are multiple channels that we have built, wherein our reliance only on one channel is almost next to impossible. And that has been done over a period of time. If you ask me, you're absolutely right. Supply is key for us, but supply has been solved using a lot of strategic partnerships with different players across cities. For example, in a place like Delhi, you may not have much walk-ins in an OEM showroom, but a place like Bangalore, you'll have a lot of supply. I think these nuances in the business is what makes this business very complicated and not really very, if I can use the word, flip-cartable. People can't just walk into this sector and say, boss, I just want to do that and we can happen.
Absolutely.
Mr. Gaurav, answering the second question regarding the price point difference between a new bike and a second bike, that is what you had asked. Am I right?
That's right.
Typically, we'll be about 50% of a new bike. In a good condition, if you're talking of a good condition bike, we will be 50%.
Very, very good. A big difference, and that's a big advantage difference.
It's a big difference.
And you will have also you will give this financing options also on this?
Yes, we give financing options as well.
And what is the difference between this unorganized and you? So somebody who's absolutely unorganized and just sources
marginal.
So Gaurav, Rishi, let me take this question. So Gaurav, I think in the minds of the consumers, more than the price, it's the value for money is more important. The pricing that you see in the second-hand dealer market and us is not very different. But what really separates us is that we do it as a package. We offer them the post-sales product services like warranty, financing. It's just like one-stop solution for everything that you need. And at the end of the day, what really customer likes and this has been validated by multiple customer feedback calls that we do after the purchase happen, is that customer ko lagta hai ki yaar, agar kuch ho gaya, to main credit card ka galla pakadunga. I think that mindset of a consumer that he trusts us makes him forget whatever the price difference it is, if at all. And it's a very broken market, Gaurav. For someone to discover a price, it's very difficult. For example, a lot of people keep asking us, why won't a OLX or a Quikr likes, why can't they be a discovery platform? But what people forget the fact that the buyer and seller, after they meet, they really don't discuss and tell you what is the exact price. I think the motivation for a consumer to sell and consumer to buy is absolutely very different. ओके अगर मुझे लगता है कि यार गाड़ी मुझे 10 दिन में बेचना है, प्राइस अलग होगा, अभी बेचना है, प्राइस अलग होगा. हमारे केस में we remove all the human subjectivities. We standardize the entire price. If you know, there is a company by name Kelley Blue Book in US. We are trying to create a Kelley Blue Book for used bikes in India. And for you to have that, you should have a lot of transaction points. That's what separates us from the rest of the crowd. People don't ask us the price. Very, very serendipitously, Gaurav, none of the customers come back to us negotiate with price. They said that boss, ये 6 month का 8 महीने कर सकते हो क्या? कि उनके दिमाग में 100 रुपए गया, मगर they want to make sure that they have peace of mind.
Correct, absolutely, very well said. And now I obviously every opportunity we bring in, we scale it on 4 or 5 critical points on franchising. And the one of the points is what I call credibility. So full marks on that, because the kind of investors you've attracted, and both the founders have such a big reputation of their own past experiences and so on and so forth. So you have a huge credibility, so which you bring on the table. So that's great. On the scalability side, I have one question. So I'll ask all the question and then you can answer in your own time. Scalability, I would like to see what is happening on your 40 showrooms. What is the peak performance for you? How many units you sell? What kind of scalability you can see out of the business and so on and so forth. That's a question on scalability. On a sustainability, I have one question. Sustainability is this business is easy. You know, it doesn't have any risk, so to say. Works on a low, so to say, low capex itself. It's not a very big, other than like other OEM dealerships, which are very expensive. In auto business, the entry point is 1 crore plus sometimes. It's a very reasonable, but 30 odd lakh rupees. So it's quite, and an entry is just the bikes to be sold. So there is no too much of investment on the capex on the showroom and so on and so forth. So I have a question on sustainability, that what happens if a slow moving bikes have come in, you know, or something needs to be done. Is there a haircut on a bike which the, so to say, franchisee has to take, how a company sports in that and so on. So that's more question on sustainability. And on adaptability, I have a question that, is this on good for all markets? What have you seen? You've seen B cities, you've seen top A city performance. How do you rate that a business? And finally, on a fourth is predictability, which means because you are a digital platform and you know where the demand is coming, can you help the franchisees to locate locations where you know the demand is being created? Because you know, because you have a lot of technology behind it. So 4 questions, I'll repeat it for everybody. Predictability, I want to do some kind of business intelligence and demand analysis. On the adaptability, I want to see which markets are great for you. On scalability, I need to know a little averaging of your 40 stores. And on sustainability, what happens on slow moving stock.
Got it. So I think on the numbers, I would let Rishi to speak, but I'll take the 3 subjective questions that you asked us. From rest of the market is our handle on data. I'll just use a small example to exaggerate it. In a city like Bangalore, I'm not sure how many of you guys are from Bangalore. There are 3 different locations. One is the Koramangala, Indiranagar, and Malleshwaram. Our ability to understand demand-supply dynamics on a hyper-local level fundamentally governs the bike inventory mix. That means the kind of bikes that I keep in Indiranagar are very different from in Koramangala, very different from Malleshwaram. And how do we get this data? That data fundamentally is being churned out based on the kind of market intelligence that we get. We spend close to 6 to 12 months in every market before we launch our showroom business. For example, Hyderabad business, which Rishi launched last year, we spent close to a year to understand the hyper-local dynamics. We want to understand kahan pe kya chalta hai, kis bhav pe chalta hai. I think that is a very simple statement to say, but for us to come to a conclusion, kya chalta hai aur kitne price pe chalta hai, took us a year. I think that's what Rishi's team does. So they map up the whole market. They spend a year to understand how the market works, then we launch the showroom. So there is a method to madness. There is a playbook that we have created that we keep replicating in every city and every location we go. So to your question, 2-3 years back, there might be some slow moving vehicle that we may have taken. But today, if you ask me, my churn rates are pretty high because the entire business is becoming more and more predictable. With predictability, a lot of your questions on sustainability, adaptability are being more and more addressed. Having said that, we are a startup. We are a 5-year-old company. There are always hits and misses. But having said that, more and more, we are more hits than less misses for us.
Very well answered.
Rishi, want to take?
Yes. So, Mr. Maria, I would like to address your point and another lot of similar type of queries that are coming in the chat box. So first is talking about the numbers. Our numbers are directly proportionate to the kind of inventory that you keep, the number of inventory that you keep. As Shashi mentioned, that we are hyper localized. Our inventory that goes in store A is very different from store B. Typically, in any retail business, the amount of stock that you keep, you can expect about 20 to 30% sale in a month. In our stores, we average about 70 to 100% in a month. So the amount of inventory that we keep, we expect 100 to 70 to 100% sale in a month. That is the kind of economics and that is the kind of numbers that we work with.
Got it. So Gaurav, you had one more question on how do you build a brand and what does it take for anyone else to come in the market? It will require a few hundred crores, lot of mistakes, and ability to write off left, right, center. Because your ability to pick and choose the right kind of inventory at supply at the right pricing will fundamentally dictate everything else. That's the reason if you see in a typical second-hand dealer shop in any of the cities, they typically make a lot of sourcing mistakes because the entire market is composed of around 800 SKUs, Gaurav. That means 800 vehicles multiplied by the number of vintage years. That means if you go wrong with 100 vehicles, 100 multiplied by 40,000 is what losses you make. So when we started the business, along with us, there are 4 players who started almost at the same time. But our focus has always been to collect as much data as possible to get the pricing right, both on the supply side as well as the demand side. And we have never relied on classified sites to build our pricing. I think that is one good thing that we have done. The price for which is that we have grown slower than other players in the market, but we survived, whereas the rest of the players have founded up.
Absolutely. And one more thing which people would not be able to most of the time duplicate is supercharged founders. The founders build companies, so every time you don't get great founders to back companies. So I think congratulations to you to build a great company. So now I'd like to invite Sonia. Sonia, your remarks on the business model and also if you have some more questions we want to take up. Sonia, there?
So Mr. Maria, if I could come in for a minute.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of queries that I'm seeing asking on what is the nature of the business model. I think we did not elaborate that sufficiently. So for the benefit of everyone attending, I would like to just elaborate that when you take up our franchisee, we provide you fully refurbished vehicles from our warehouse. The job of procuring a vehicle, getting it refurbished, getting the vehicle delivered to your store is entirely ours. From there on, we provide a range of sales support. Like Shashi showed the kind of product that we are launching. We provide a range of sales and marketing support. And from there on, after sales, whatever happens in terms of warranty claims, in terms of paper transfer, etc., that is taken care of by the company, by Freda. This is for the benefit of everyone attending.
Sonia, we were trying you. So your questions and your remarks on the business.
So I think I have a little bit problem with my connection, but I'll go on. I'm not too sure if I'm still audible. But if anybody finds any problem, do let me know. At the outset, I would say thank you so much, Shashi ji and Rishi, for coming on this forum today. And I was, as we have started resuming offices, I'm seeing a lot of lives coming back on the roads for their livelihoods. And the biggest worry everybody has today is, how safe can be when they commute, and transportation is becoming very, very important in these days. And India has always been the second largest market in two-wheeler category. And I was reading some numbers from China some days back. As China started resuming, there was a big need of people using their own personal transportation than using public transportation. And I saw in the numbers that you gave pre and post COVID, and the reasons why these numbers would grow in this era because of hygiene issues. And the last, I think, few odd years, we had seen a lot of headwinds which the industry overall was facing, which was reasons to the fuel pricing, high insurance charges, electrification also of vehicles. And in fact, the Euro 6 transition would make the entry of a lot of new to vehicles coming in the market even much higher than what it is today. And that makes, I feel, the market for pre-owned rental leasing companies like you, which would make a big difference. I would put my first question. We've talked about the business model, margins, and a lot of other things. And I also read recently you've raised some funds, and these funds would be used for maybe more inventory that you want to intake, and also help people get better finances. And the last 10 odd years, how financing has worked, almost from 30 to 50% incremental business has come in franchising, where 30% people who started taking finance in two-wheelers, the last 10 years have seen 50% people taking more finance. How do you think the sales of Credar would become better, or what kind of incremental sales do you foresee with this financing option coming in place?
Got it. Sonia, India is a leverage hungry country. So how much of leverage you put in the market, it will get absorbed left, right, center. So we are now very different from the market. Almost 2 to 3 customers out of 5, they check with us saying that if there is any loan possibility done. And having said that, this loan facility, if it becomes more and more popular in our own company, the chance of sales growing by 2-3 times is very easy. The reason why we say that is because even when we get a lot of inquiries on our website, serendipitously people do check in saying that loan, and this has only multiplied in last 2 to 3 months, given the fact that a lot of people are undergoing stress on their financial conditions. But having said that, there are hardly few companies which are looking at second-hand vehicles as a financing option. When we started the business 5 years back, a lot of the regular financial institutions like banks, NBFCs were not even giving a second thought on the second-hand bikes. And one of the main reasons for that, Sonia, is because they don't know how to price the loan, and they don't know how to value the residual part of the bike. I think that's exactly what we solved today. Today, what we are saying to a lender is that if a customer buys a vehicle for 30,000, in a new bike scenario, the MRP is fixed by the auto company. So they know what is the value of the bike. In our case, since our pricing is standardized, a lot of the finance institutions, for example, Hero FinCorp and a lot of other institutional players like Manba Finance and a few others in Bangalore are able to trust our pricing engine. They say, boss, if it is 30,000, it comes up 30,000. Okay. And secondly, a lot of new age customers from IT, from BPO, they are all salaried class, and they have decent, good CIBIL scores. And with more and more awareness, people are looking at financing as an option. But having said that, if you ask me, do we have full-fledged function? My answer would be no. But are we going the right direction? Yes. In fact, yesterday we had a call with India's 3rd largest bank. And the proposal we gave to them is very simple. I said, we asked them, in a personal loan, almost they have a delinquency ratio of around 40%. We said, why don't you look at this product as a collateralized personal loan, which fundamentally means if a consumer defaults, you always have an asset where you can sell it on our own platform and still collect some of the receivables there. I think they're very open to that, and they will be working with us next few weeks. To your question, financing is a very good deal breaker. If we are able to solve it, consumers will be super happy. Having said that, today we are working with very few startups. But if you ask me, we can easily go 10x from here.
Great. I think that's very important, and that will also help give a lot of value add. Do you think this value out of financing will also be passed on to your franchisee, or will that be handled only at the company level? will he get any percentage or commission out of any finances which he does out of his outlet? So,
Sonia, I think whatever we do, we are partners. For us, all the franchisee showrooms are our partners. So they will be compensated in every revenue stream that we are working with them. So there are no questions asked on that.
I think Sonia's internet is taking some issues, so we will try to take some more questions from the audience. You know, I always ask
your presence on the website. A lot of sales are happening on the website.
Sonia, you're breaking off. You're breaking off completely, Sonia.
Okay, let me ask a question by that time. You know, so I ask this question normally with every single entrepreneur that, so we have a business model, from a microeconomic structure, from a demand supply space. It looks very interesting. And so it has a lot of what I call positive influences. Because of where we live, India, what is happening in COVID, the whole price gap, which means that even if you wanted to buy a bike now, because you would not have affordability to buy or you would not feel worth buying a new one, you will still go for a second-hand one, trusted one, and spend less money because you would like to not put all the money in buying a new bike. All that is great, but is there a risk which you would like to warn the investors and say, only if you have these 3 things or 4 things, then only you should invest into the business?
Gaurav, let me talk about a business risk. The biggest risk in the business is if you are not able to provide a good customer experience. At the end of the day, you need to understand this is a consumer-facing business. If 100 customers go on and complain against a certain showroom in any city, our ability to attract good quality consumers to transact with us will completely go down. The biggest risk, see, in the last 5 years, Gaurav, we have ironed out a lot of business model risks. One of the things that we are separate from a classified site or a Me Too second-hand dealer in the market is what Rishi explained. We refurbish the entire bike to the best quality. And that capabilities over a period of 800 SKUs is not a child's play. So for us, the biggest detrimental or biggest risk in our business is we screwing up at the consumer experience level. That's the reason we're absolutely very anal in our standard operating procedures. We tell our franchisee, who is our partner, that if the consumer writes a bad review on the website or anywhere else, then we are screwed. Having said that, I can still tell you companies like Amazon, Flipkart, Snapdeal, all the companies which have tons and tons of money with them, they still have a lot of detractors. So we know that this is a service industry and there is always. But from a company standpoint, we train our franchisees, we train our sales executives. The entire process end-to-end is so streamlined that we ensure that the consumer gets the best experience. If it doesn't, then we are out of the business. It's as simple as that. There's no magic potion around this.
Absolutely. So now I think you're back and your question.
Yeah, there's one important question, Shashiji, I would like to ask you. I've been seeing and watching you for quite some time. You've integrated both online and offline, and 2 years back you started your physical stores. And if you see, there are 2 mindsets, and the new mindset or the thought says, the forward-looking omni-channel companies like you need to also do away with the traditional way how physical stores were operating, where a franchisee needs to partner with anything which is happening omni-channel, which is any kind of sales which are happening online. The local partners should also play some kind of a role in generating those sales, because physical stores are going to be at the forefront of turning the retail industry, which is convenience led today. So do you see a role of your local partners into any kind of sales which they're able to generate, and they're able to integrate the entire journey, from discovery to buying? Is any connection between the 2 that you see in your current model, or you want to keep these 2 models separate, which is online with the company and offline goes to the partner?
No. I think there seems to be some confusion on our model. Sonia ji, good that you asked me this question. All the sales that you see happening in our company are funneled through the showrooms only. So all the consumers that you see, they go and select the vehicle. but the final customer delivery happens at the showroom. The only difference is that you see from our contactless doorstep delivery is the vehicle from a showroom is being delivered to your doorstep. So there are no two models. There is only one model. Consumer goes to our website, chooses a bike, our call center executive calls them, or the franchisee showroom executive calls them. They go to the showroom, they pay the price, the transaction is completed. So the online is just a discovery model. The entire transaction gets fulfilled at the showroom level. I repeat, the entire transaction gets fulfilled at the showroom level. The new thing that we have just launched is a doorstep delivery, is just a variation of the showroom delivery. So ours is a perfect blend of online versus offline. Both have to be together. That's the point number one. Point number two, franchisees plays a massive role in creating buzz around the 4 to 5 kilometers radius in which he serves the market. In fact, the best performing showrooms are the ones where the franchisee takes a lot of proactive steps on the lines of our own internal marketing team to create the buzz around that. I think that's where we are very different from rest of the market, because as you rightly pointed out, I particularly know from which part of the town a consumer is looking at my website. And that kind of granular details about the demand heat maps helps us in getting the franchisee to be activated. So if you see, even before we enter any city, we map out the entire city and we know the demand heat maps. So we just don't put up showrooms randomly. Today in a city like Bangalore, we have at least 600 to 700 locations where a franchisee can set up a showroom. I think that kind of intelligence is very hard to get, and we have taken years to build that intelligence. To your question, all the bikes started discovery on the online basis, but they get fulfilled offline, and the showrooms play a massive role to create the brand awareness in their 3 to 5 kilometers radius, and that is completely being SOPized by our internal marketing team. So our internal marketing teams talk to each one of the showrooms on a regular basis. We discuss the marketing plans, and we want the franchises to execute on the ground.
I think that's very important. It's a very compelling value proposition for a consumer to come at the outlet and experience that transparent purchasing experience. I saw some questions in the chat box, and these were questions which are related to the competition. You know, there's a lot of competition which people are talking about online, which is bike for sale, bike wale. How do you differentiate from them? And there's one question which I want to ask. I didn't see that name. A few days back, I was reading Cars24, which is a pre-owned car online brand, has also come into two-wheeler sales, including scooters, moped, bikes, and they're doing that on their company, the platform of the company. And they should also be starting with the EV, which is electronic vehicle sales, shortly. So do you see that as a competition to you?
Got it. Good question. So I'll just take the competition, then I'll ask, then I will answer Cars24 specifically. Predominantly, for everyone's understanding, there are two business models in a used bike segment. One is your classified approach. All the names that you mentioned, including Cars24, comes under classified approach, wherein a buyer and a seller meets online, exchange phone numbers, and the transaction is taken offline. That has all the risks and all the friction points that I mentioned you earlier. I have no clue about the quality of the bike. I really don't know whether it's a theft-oriented bike. There is no value-added services. Their bike condition in terms of paper, documentation, nothing is known. I meet a stranger in a public place, I have to blindly trust whether the bike is good, bad, ugly. Point number one. For a buyer, it's as much a hassle as much for a seller. So the classified business models have not got any traction in the bike space, predominantly because it's not like an Amazon purchase. It's not just like a mobile that you're purchasing offhand. There are a lot of friction points. So none of the classified sites have been able to solve this problem. That's the reason even in car space, there is a company by name Spinny, which is exactly trying to do what we are doing in the bike space. But in a car space, the full stack model, that's what we call in business parlance, is much easier because in cars, there is a technology known as OBD player, which fundamentally using it, you can fundamentally understand the quality of the car. Whereas in our case, there is no such kind of a technology, which fundamentally means he's completely dependent on us to help him choose the right quality and the right price bike. So these two are two different models. So we should not even compare. And all the refurbishment is done internally. That means we can guarantee you that within 6 months something goes wrong, we stand as a guarantee for that. I think that kind of guarantee none of the classified companies can give, because all these companies run as a classified lead generation platform. We are not a lead generation platform. We are a full stack business model. And having said this, we saw this kind of competition coming up in the past also. Companies like Bike Wale, Bike Dekho, all these guys have threatened to enter the market. But for us, for anyone to enter this market, they have to do all the things that we have done. Set up a refurbishment center, set up a branding, set up a financing. So you can do everything else. For example, you can get a financing guy, you can get an insurance guy, but getting the refurbishment capabilities and understanding the pricing algorithms in each market is the most difficult part of the business. For anyone to build this, it takes time. We're more than happy to get competition, because with competition, the entire consumers will have more options. We're more than happy for that. But having said that, a market like car, which only sells 4 million every year, there are 10 companies which are operating. In a market like used bike, which has close to 40 million vehicles, I would assume there will be 20, 30 credars. But the only difference between a car and a bike is, for you to build a full stack business in a bike, it takes a lot of blood, sweat, money, and patience. It all depends upon the focus. Google can do what Yahoo can do what Facebook can do, and what Microsoft can do. But each have their own strengths and weaknesses. And we believe we are in this business for last 5 years, and we'll be there for next 20 years. So we'll welcome the competition, but the franchisee guys, the market would easily differentiate between a full stack business and a classified business.
Absolutely.
I think that's where the trust comes in.
We have run out of time, so I think we should take some last few points. Sonia, starting with you, what is your last remarks, and then we take from the other two panelists.
While we have an audience who want to understand, because he went online, he said you also have vehicles which have 0 kilometer driven. Is that a possibility? Are these new vehicles, or how the 0 kilometer vehicle?
Yeah, Sonia, I've actually answered that in the chat window. So as is common, if a certain part cannot be repaired, it has to be replaced. Now, if a meter, it gets spoiled, it is normal. बारिश में भीग के गीला हो जाता है वगैरह. अगर वो खराब हो गया है, उसे रिप्लेस करना पड़ता है और कोई तरीका नहीं होता. नया मीटर जो आता है, जो स्टैंडर्ड बॉश का आता है या ओरिजिनल इक्विपमेंट का OEM का आता है, यामाहा का या सुजुकी का, वो जीरो पे आता है. And that's clearly mentioned on our website that the meter has been replaced entirely.
Now you get also, this is an out of the box question, because I am hearing that a lot of dealers which are overstocked, OEM dealers, and because of the new vehicle policy and structure policy, they would have some excess inventory which they would have to either register and then sell as a second hand. So you will get that inventory also now, because a lot of that inventory is coming through in the market.
Yes, Mr. Maria, very, very valid point. In fact, you are aware that we are present in Bhilwara. We are already in talks with Bhilwara with multiple dealers to offload their inventory. They have already registered their inventory. They were open for about 3 days or something, and they have registered their inventory. They are already in talks to acquire that inventory and sell it off. So we are already working with Hero and TVS both to be able to dispose of the inventory at the dealer level, and we are working at a national level with both the companies.
Very big opportunity.
So it is not just Bhilwara, but also Jaipur.
Yeah, big opportunity, and our audience should know, because of this, all the vehicles are aged now, sitting in, because the sales was down from February, and now the February, March, April, May, and I think June would also not open up the lockdowns in a proper manner. So these all inventories are now going to be registered and then sold as second-hand vehicles, which are absolutely new, but they would become second-hand in that sense. So it is a great opportunity for Pridar to use that. So final remarks from you, Sonia, if you have any remarks, and anything from Cesar and Rishi.
Thank you. I'll say thank you again. And we see this two-wheeler segment really going big in the times to come. And I feel all the questions have been very nicely answered by the entire team. And hopefully, Pridar being the Indian largest and the most trusted consumer brand, across two-wheeler segment. Franchise India will have a big role to play in your future rollout, hopefully in this year, which we think is a very good opportunity at this time and the right time for us to actually penetrate and go to the last mile. So we wish you all the best.
Thanks, Gaurav. Thanks, Sonia, for giving us an opportunity to present to your network. We strongly believe the time has come for this segment to grow by 10x. Even before pre-COVID situation, also the BS6 transition was a big tailwind. I think we should not, we are not making merry on people's fortunes, but this lack of public transport and no other options left, I think we would enjoy a honeymoon period for years to come. And franchise being the front end for us, we have a strong affiliation for those kind of business models where the franchises and we should be seen as partners to serve this market. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Maharaji.
Thank you very much. Thanks for, we really appreciate you coming and taking time out. We have a strong belief on your brand. And as I said, we believe big on founders. So we feel that the founders are backing that businesses right and they're committed like you are. I think we have a full faith in your business opportunity. We have seen a lot of franchisees who have signed through us have given good testimonial. So we would like to see also partner with you on a what I call hyper growth, looking at some hundreds of stores coming very fast, and people should find every neighborhood having a Kirdar store. So we would like to come back maybe after a year with a big success story collectively to be presented to everybody. So best wishes to the entire Kirdar team. So
Gaurav, as a parting remark, we have started the business with bikes. For next 20 years, we'll still doing bikes. People may come from cars to bikes to aeroplanes to yachts to submarines, but trust us, our focus has always been bikes and will remain the bikes, because we believe the country has a lot of low to middle income family groups for whom the aspirational automobile will remain forever, and we will never get fitted away by any distractions of getting into a car or a supercar or a flight. Trust me.
I agree. That's the reason Cars24 also has come down to selling two-wheelers on their website. So I feel mobility, accessibility, and affordability being the three prime things in this industry, and you would be leading in all and very proactively. Thank you.
Thank you. Archana, final thank you note from your side.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gaurav sir. So we really appreciate participation by all our friends and participants who've joined us today for understanding the journey of Kirdar and how they can create a value proposition in market. We really thank you, Gaurav sir, Sonia ma'am, Shashi and Rishi for your helpful and insightful session about the brand. We really got some good important pointers from you guys. Thank you so much. For our participants, there is a webinar tomorrow also. So I would like Dheeraj to put the information about the second webinar which we are having tomorrow. So we are conducting webinar for Pacman tomorrow. We will have founder director Gaurav Jillan for this particular webinar. Look forward to have you tomorrow. Dheeraj has already shared the link with you guys on screen. You can register yourself and you can join us tomorrow. Thank you so much, everyone. Take good care of yourself, your family. Best wishes.
Thank you.
If you want to reach us, you can reach us on LinkedIn. Both Sonia and I am available on LinkedIn. So any questions you have, we were more than happy to answer.
Yes, Mr. Gaurav. Thank you so much, Mr. Gaurav. Thank you, Sonia. I'll take it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye. Bye.